Hello, 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 and good evening. Hope you guys are doing well wherever you are. Thank you so much for jumping on in the room, for coming to sit in the room with me as I am with you. Sincerely hope you're doing well wherever you are. It is a terrific Tuesday. My day is kind of winding down. Had a busy day in the office, but I'm just so glad for this hour to come and be with all my super sisters. So I sincerely hope you're doing well. Welcome on to something more. If this is your first time joining us, I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. This platform is about forward moving mindset, forward moving thinking, forward moving, juicy, delicious, conscious conversation that we all need in our lives, and forward moving actions that are in alignment with kingdom principles. I appreciate you being here with me this evening. It doesn't matter where you are on your journey of life, because we're all on a journey. You may be at a crawl, to a walk, to a run, to a soar. It doesn't matter where you are. There is always, always room for something more. Thank you for being here with me this evening. As you guys know, if you've been with me for the past few weeks, we've been going through my anthology, Image in the Mirror. And it has been nothing short of juicy delicious. The stories that we're unearthing, the lessons that we are learning as we sit together, as we go through. So I'm so grateful that that you guys are here. And if you haven't picked up a copy, it's not too late. You can go on over to my website, www.petrashaw.com, and grab a copy. I promise you it will be a sincere blessing. In no small way, it will truly bless you. So again, thank you for being here. And as I've already prayed, already send up my prayers for you as you come, and just ask the Lord that as we come together and sit in conversation, that it will serve us no matter where we are, no matter where you are, that this conversation will meet you where you are. And if not you, if it doesn't serve you in one way, I'm sure there's another sister that it will. So I'm going to ask you if you would kindly hit that subscribe button, like and share, and just send it out. We want to reach more women, because the things that we're talking about, becoming free and unashamed of where we've been and where we are, learning from our mistakes, learning from the past, it's so important to push that forward to as many, many women as possible, especially women of faith, because there are a lot of conversations that we just don't have for some reason or another, because we're Christians, and we need to go back and peel the layers back and have the conscious conversations that are necessary in our lives. And so I'm glad that you're here. So please, if you like what's going on, I'm going to ask you, please don't just watch. Push that like button. I'm watching you. Push that like button. If you've been coming on week after week and you've been enjoying what's going on here on Something More, that's all I ask of you. Push the like button, subscribe, and share. Send it out to your girlfriends in your phone. Just share, because it's important that we reach as many, many sisters as possible, so they know that wherever they are, whatever they're going through, there's always help, there's always hope, and there's healing for their hearts. So thank you. And on that note, we're going to focus our hearts, our minds, as we get ready for this conversation, to see where we're going with this evening and how it will serve us. So as you know, as usual, we center our hearts and our minds. We take that cleansing breath, realizing who we are and whose we are, as we get ready for the conversation, so we can receive what is necessary for you and I to receive. So on the count of 3, we take that deep breath. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. And exhale. And let's do that again. Deep breath in. And exhale. Father, we're so grateful for this opportunity this evening. So grateful for your love and your kindness and your mercies towards all of us. We thank you that as we go on the journey of life, that we are never alone. And I ask, it is my prayer this evening, that every woman will know for sure that she is not alone. No matter what she's been in, no matter what she's going through, she is not alone, and that you're with us, you're walking with us, you're growing us, and you're transforming our lives. by these different platforms that we're able to come and to join and to be with each other on. So we thank you. I ask that you would just use this conversation and allow it to be a blessing to someone, to many women as we come together. It is in your name we pray and we say amen. So we're still on the journey. Hello, how are y'all doing? Good, good, good. Y'all are doing good. I see you, Gina. Hello, honey. How are you? Angela, I see you. Shanika, I see you. I see Hopi too, and I see Valencia too, and everybody else. Hello to you guys. All right, so what are we talking about? The topic for our conversation this evening, the chapter we're looking on, begins on page 85. And the topic is Silent Cries. Silent Cries by Miss Marcia Hawkins. And she writes, as I rode in the car with my mother, I looked out the window to see the familiar sights, my high school, the busyness of the street life. Life was happening as it did normally. But on this day, I was preparing to take a life. I was on my way to have an abortion. A million thoughts rushed through my mind as I tried to convince myself that I was doing the right thing. But in my heart, I felt such lost already. I remembered the last words my mom said to me in the car. Think of what people will say. That seemed to be the motivating factor in all of this. My feelings didn't matter. I was only 17, getting ready to graduate, and I didn't want to be a disappointment or burden to my family. So here we are at the clinic. I see so many people, and the staff seems so understanding with sympathetic eyes. The year was 1980. Abortions were more commonplace. Some girls even seemed to use them as birth control. I was carrying a baby, a child conceived through lovemaking by two people in love. This felt like someone ripping my favorite teddy bear from my arms. I didn't want to do it, but I gave in. I didn't want to disappoint my mother. I caved. I remember the cold steel table. Everything seemed so routine, like it happened every day. They explained everything that would happen to me step by step. On my back, looking up, I wondered just what the heck I was about to do. I almost felt like I was in a dream, but this was real. The nurse put the oxygen over my face and explained I would feel sleepy. Right before I went under, I thought, was this happening? And then, just like that, I woke up. 20 minutes ago, I had a life inside of me. Now, nothing. The void that death brings to your womb is simply unreal. I cried because I realized this was something I could not reverse. No do-overs, no second chances or blinking my eyes would make it go away. In the car ride on the way home, silence. I didn't know what to think. How do you feel when you realize that you have just killed a part of yourself? My mind started playing movies that I would never see. Me and my love playing with our child in the yard, or three of us sitting together as a family with possibly more children, or me just staring at my child, being thankful that I followed my heart. None of these beautiful movies would ever be a reality. I met him when I was 14 years old at a football game. He was a freshman in college. Not immediately smitten, I enjoyed the attention he gave me. Jay would call me and I him. I didn't think he would he was especially attractive. Because during the 80s, if you were light, as in light-skinned, if you were light, you were all right. And he wasn't. But there was something about him I found intriguing. Maybe because he was a freshman at the university and he was going to be a doctor. Plus, he had a very nice church-going family. And I knew that would please my parents, especially my mother. He was my first love. We did everything together. And he thought I hung the moon. Isn't that nice to know somebody feels about that way about you, that you could do no wrong? This was it. As I read, I felt it took me back to when my husband and I were dating. She was saying that this was her first love, and he felt so much for her. He thought she was beautiful and that she hung the moon. I believe that's how my husband, my then husband-to-be felt about me, that I could do no wrong. I was just the most beautiful girl for him. You still feel that way, Daddy? He's in the back saying, yeah, that's what he said last night anyways. So we did everything together, she says, and he thought I hung the moon. I didn't have the best relationship with my parents, so when his family took me in as one of their own, I felt so blessed by the close connection and attention. What I felt I didn't have at my house, I always found at his. His mother was so kind and loving. I felt more like a real family member than just a girlfriend. We were together for over 5 years. The news I was pregnant excited his family. Although they did not condone our premarital behavior, they accepted my decision concerning having the baby. Jay's mother didn't want to influence me, but I could tell she hoped I would have her grandchild, an extension of the love I shared with her son. She did not want her voice, her opinion, out of respect for my mother, but I could feel her displeasure upon learning my decision. And she quoted my decision. I know that my life would have been different had I listened to my heart. How many of us can identify with that one sentence? I know that my life would have been different had I listened to my heart. Not being taken up by the noise, the external noises, what everyone had to say, the opinions of everyone, but just simply following your heart, your GPS, your God placement system, hearing what is in your spirit, hearing what is in your heart, and trusting that, rather than allowing the noise and the opinions of everyone in your life to drown out what you know is true in your heart for you. She goes on to say, the movie I played in the car ride from the abortion clinic that day was just that. The beautiful finale didn't happen because the prelude never had the chance to develop. Wow. My decision would haunt me for years to come. We returned home and it was business as usual. Our loved child, our mistake, had been ripped from my body while I slept, and the people whose opinion mattered more than my feelings would never know. I could feel it. Can you feel it? In 20 minutes, life was gone. The gift was gone. The possibility was gone in 20 minutes. My relationship with Jade suffered over this. How were we to go back to normalcy after this? I had so much resentment and anger, mainly at myself. Why did I feel I had no voice? Why did I allow opinions of others to shape the trajectory of my life in such a significant way? Why didn't I speak up? And if I did, who would have listened? Who would have listened closely enough to hear my heart and not just my words? Why didn't I speak up? I've always said it's so important to hone your voice. It's so important to speak your truth quietly and clearly. Sometimes raise the decibel if you must. But it's important to speak your truth, because silence can be consent. Most of the times it is. Sometimes when we think we're doing nothing, just being silent is doing something. You're consenting to the status quo or to whatever decision is to be made. When you remain silent about whatever is going on, you're giving that thing permission to persist or to continue in your life. She asked the question, what silenced me? Was it the fear of not having the approval of my mother? I had sought her acceptance in so many ways to only to always come up short. Maybe it was me, second guessing my heart and not knowing how to listen to my inner voice that I would later identify as the Holy Spirit. How important it is to train ourselves to listen to the still small voice that is there to guide us. Can you trust your heart? Can you trust your spirit? How many times did you hear within yourself, don't say a word? And there you go. Blah, 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 blah. And it got you into trouble. Like, anybody? Am I the only one? One hand up, two hands up, and a foot. Like, how many times you knew, you heard your spirit saying, don't say anything. And you offered more than you needed to, and it ended up being a complete mess. Or hearing to go right, or hearing to do this or to do that, and you didn't follow your heart, you didn't follow your spirit. And you could see right there and then that you made a mistake. It's so important to listen to your heart and to listen to your spirit, especially if you're in obedience to the Lord, you're in a relationship with Him. Trust that spirit, because it's really there to guide us. She went on to say, while my relationship with Jay deteriorated, neither one of us wanted to speak up about what had happened. The pushing it under the rug kind of situation. I remember driving to his home and thinking we would get everything back on track and rekindle what we had lost. Buddy Wright's song, Clean Up Woman, was playing on the radio. Little did I know I was about to meet her. My sweet surrogate mother answered the door. She let me in, knowing what was going on. She would later tell me several times that I would always be her daughter. But that night, I felt like I belonged to no one. The look in his eyes told me I had surprised him with my visit. That evening did not go so well. He had moved forward with someone else and had not told me. I felt heartbroken. No baby, no Jay. I felt like I was back on that cold table all alone. How I wish I could have reversed my life at that point. Despondent and inconsolable, I cried myself to sleep that night. A few weeks later, Jay contacted me, dangling the possibility of a reconciliation. Looking back, I believe the contact was really a booty call, masked in the guise of, maybe we can work things out. I think I knew that even if I had reconciled, things would never be the same. But once again, I traded my feelings for acceptance, the acceptance I longed for. I sacrificed how I felt to accommodate someone else's desire. Can anyone identify with her? Sacrificing yourself what you know is true for you to please others, to your own detriment. This is where she was. As a result of that hopeful meeting, I became pregnant. Imagine that. I became pregnant again. This time, I would make different decisions. No matter if we were together or not, I was going to keep the child, our loved child, and raise him alone if I had to. When I told Jay about this, he seemed so confused, but willing to accept this new reality. But God had other plans. In my 3rd month, I miscarried. How could this happen? Why did God allow this? My rejection spirit convinced me that this was part of the punishment I must face because of the decision I had made at 17. Isn't it interesting how when we're in trouble, when we're in pain, we oftentimes look at God and we blame him, and we are thinking that we're going through whatever we're going through because God is punishing us. And he's not such a God. Oh, he has borne so many names that he's not worthy of. You know, he's not a God to punish us. When we go through things, he allows things in our lives so we can learn. Even the things that we somehow, because of our actions and our decisions, brought those things into our lives. But we always, a lot of times, we look to God to say, you are punishing me. And that's really not the truth. As a matter of fact, he's trying to teach us and to grow us, because at the end of the day, the word says all things, it doesn't matter how ugly, how it looks in the moment. He says, I just know it's working for your good. I have a way to turn even things that you brought into your life through disobedience or ignorance. God says, I have a way to make that thing work for your good. Isn't that awesome? So he's actually working for your good in what seems like he's punishing you. He's not. He's setting you up in your pain, in your frustration, in your anger, in your resentment. He's still setting you up to win. He's still finding a way in the midst of all of that to turn what looks so ugly, what's so painful, to make that thing work for your good and for his glory. So it's never true that God is punishing us and God is doing this and God is doing that. A lot of times we just don't understand how things are connected in the realm of the spirit and how it's now manifested in the earth realm. And because we don't have that back understanding, we go to an easy solution that God is punishing us, and that's not the truth. He's actually loving and growing us in all of that, making a way where there seems to be no way. She goes on to say, losing this baby was a sign that this part of my life, this chapter in my story, was coming to a close. I silently said goodbye to so many things. I said goodbye to the children who were no longer a part of my womb and the family that had embraced me in such a tender way when I needed a second home. And I said goodbye to the love so special, I would never find another like it. And that did something to me. That she thought in that moment that she had experienced the best of what there is. And the truth is, a lot of times, what is to come is better. And she said, I would never find another love like this one. All things are possible. So never count yourself out, or never feel like if I let this go, I'll never find anything better. I'll never find a better man. I'll never find a better job. I'll never find a better house. That's not true. Listen, there's always greater and lesser in every situation. Desiderata said there's always greater and lesser persons than yourself. So in all situations, there's always a better diamond or a lesser quality of diamond. So never ever feel that I won't get better than what I've had, because all things are still possible. She said, I would never find another like it. The profound love and loss of my youth broke my heart. My decision haunted me for years to come, but I found the courage to move forward even with a broken heart. Here's the amazing thing. When we come to the place of awareness in the pain, that we can still move forward one step at a time. As I mentioned before, on the journey of life, sometimes we're at a crawl. You can't even walk out of a situation. It is so painful. It is so toxic. It takes everything inside of you to move forward, to not remain stuck, to not just sit there and not try to move forward in your life. But in her situation, she said, with a broken heart, I tried and I moved forward. I found the courage to just take one step. And for a lot of us, we're in different situations. That's all you really need to do. Find the courage to just take one step at a time. And even if you can't walk out of it, some of us just have to crawl out of that pain, crawl out of the frustration, crawl out of that anger. Some of us don't need to crawl. Some of us don't need to walk. Some of us just really need to sprint out of it, get out of it now, right now. So it doesn't matter how fast you get out of it, how quickly you move through. The speed is not what's important. What is important is finding the courage to move from where you are. Finding the courage once you identify that this is where I am. Because listen, we don't get to move forward in our lives until we first identify that I am here. You never get to your point of destination. You will never get to the place of destination where you really want to be if you have not taken the time to find out where you are and to pinpoint that I am here. No judgment, no talking down to yourself. It's about really coming into that full awareness that this is where I am. Because that little kiosk you have in the mall, if you want to go to Macy's, or if you want to go to JCPenney, or you want to go to Saks, where they're all located different places. The path you're going to take depends on where you are in the mall, where you need to go upstairs or downstairs. But you first have to find out, I am here. Because depending on where you are, it will give you the direction to where you need to go to get out of that thing. So she found herself in a place where she was in pain. She was in anger and resentment, grieving over the loss of her love and the loss of a child, which is so precious. But she found her courage not to stay there, but to slowly walk out of it, even with a broken heart. And a lot of times it's while we're willing to find our courage and take one step at a time, it's in the journey of just moving in the pain, in the frustration, that one day you wake up and realize, oh my God, something happened to me, and it doesn't hurt as much until another day comes, and another day comes, and you realize it doesn't hurt at all. That healing came and transformation came along the journey. But you have to start somewhere, even if you're in pain, just like she did. She said, I found the courage to move forward, even with a broken heart. What do you need to find the courage to move forward on or in, even though it's not perfect? What do you need to find the courage to do, even though the situation is not perfect? Even though you may feel that I'm not qualified and I don't have all the skills I need to move forward. Can you believe in your heart? Can you know where you are this evening, that no matter what you're going through, you can still move forward? It is still possible. Even at a crawl, as long as there's some type of movement out of the situation, out of the circumstance, you will get to the place of healing and transformation. Because it's never a one and done. It is a journey. And it's a journey worth taking. To get to your place of peace and transformation, oh my God, it is a journey that is worth taking. It is a journey. If all you can do is crawl, just crawl. It is a journey worth crawling out of to get to the best version of yourself, to get to your possibility, to get to that place where your heart is healed and you know true freedom. You know who you are regardless of what you've been in, regardless of what your story has been up to that point. That journey is worth you taking the risk to hold on to your courage. It is worth taking that risk of believing when it seems like there's nothing worth believing in. It is worth taking the journey to move forward, because healing and help and hope is going to find you on your journey. She goes on to say, in my 20s, I had another relationship that would produce a baby. My son was born and his name was Brandon. When I got pregnant with this child, I embraced everything about being pregnant with joy. I did not, however, consider myself to be a high-risk pregnancy. But in the 6th month of pregnancy, the doctor could not detect movement. My heart sank to the bottom of my stomach. After conferring with the ultrasound tech in the office, they concluded that the pregnancy was no longer viable. So it's pain after pain after pain. And some of us, we're going through things and it's like it's compounded on each other. Pain after pain after pain, frustration after frustration after frustration. And it would seem like it's giving you evidence that this is it, that my life is over and God is punishing me and I should move forward or think of having a better day tomorrow, because it is compiling and I'm seeing the evidence of what I believe. Do you know that if you believe something, that you will produce the evidence to support that belief? Whether good or bad. So if you believe that God is punishing you and that you will never succeed in a particular area, then the evidence must show up to support that mindset. Because as you think, so it shall appear. That's the word of the Lord. It is a principle, it is a law. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So her thought was, I'm in constant punishment from God. I will never have children. Even though I wanted the child, I was so grateful, but she had a prevailing thought that God is punishing me. And this is not for me. This part of my life is over. And coming into her 3rd pregnancy, no baby. The term he used felt cold as the table I laid on years ago when they were getting me ready for that to abort my baby. And yes, this was confirmation once again that I was being punished. I didn't even remember she wrote that. This was confirmation, she thought, that she was being punished because of my silence, because she didn't speak up during her first abortion. So you got to watch how you're thinking when you're in a situation. You don't have to let the prevailing situation dictate what the outcome is going to be in the long run. But if you're thinking that way, the law has no other choice but to show up in your life. If you're thinking that this is the way it's meant to be, or this is what God is doing, then it has to be so. So we have to guide our thoughts, especially when we're in painful situations and we're going through storm after storm and trial after trial. You still have to guard your mind and your thoughts around that situation, so you're not predicting the future because of the past. Because things do change. Things do change. And we do serve a God who is willing to change our stories. But there's a role for us to play as well. We have to participate with God and know that He is for us and not against us. He is for us and He's always working for our good. So she said again that she believed, and this was confirmation once again, that God was punishing her because of her silence. She said, what was I to say? I had learned that through hard lessons, that it didn't matter how much I cried, begged, pleaded, or groaned, nothing would change the outcome. Isn't that something? She had already decided what her outcome was going to be. The next day, my delivery was to take place. I lay in bed on a morphine drip, and without a sound, my emotions wailed all over the room. Silent cries. The father was there with me. He had also wanted a son, and I was about to give him one, stillborn. My mind went back to riding in the car that day, looking out the window. I wondered how different things would be if I had not been so complicit, if I would not be here waiting to deliver something God had already taken from me. Can you feel her? Can you feel her pain? Can you feel where she's been? But let's see where she goes. By this time, I looked on this and many other things that happened to me as if I deserved them. She felt like I deserved everything. Again, you got to watch your mind, watch your thoughts. She said, I accepted what my fear, rejection, and low self-esteem would have me believe about myself. Not what God said, not what the plans he had, that they're good and there are plans to prosper and to bring you to an expected end. She believed fear, and she believed the spirit of rejection, and she believed what her low self-esteem was telling her, rather than believing what her father said about her in her brokenness and in her pain, that he gives beauty for ashes and strength for fear, peace for despair, joy for mourning. She chose to believe the fear and the rejection. Self-destructive behaviors would follow, because no punishment is too much when you bring it on yourself. I quickly followed the patterns of my family and decided to become an alcoholic. She decided to become an alcoholic. Isn't that something? By then, my relationship with Jay had been long over. So what better way to regret the past and wallow in the present at this time? I often sat with a drink in hand, staring at the bottle as if it could reverse everything. But that did not happen. I just became more and more consumed in the black hole I had created for myself. And even then, I had no voice. My actions became words out loud. I was even labeled, as most are, when the behavior isn't understood. Once again, it was all about what others thought. When would it matter what I thought or what I had to say? I would look back on that day and many other days and wonder why. What was it that made me feel I had no voice over my body, my baby, or my life? I wanted the approval of people so badly, often, that I did not speak up or out of fear of being looked down upon, or my thoughts or my ideas being rejected. I learned how not to take up too much airspace, to be there but not to be seen, to be present but to not be in the way, to merely exist but not to thrive, to not take up airspace. Our hearts can be damaged by the traumas. Our hearts can be damaged from the pain of life to the point where we see ourselves, the vision of ourselves become distorted. She saw herself as taking up airspace. She saw herself as nothing. She was in a room, but she was not to be seen. Her laughter not to be heard. Her voice not to be heard or understood. How many of us have experienced that or still feel that way? We feel as non-entities. We walk in a room, and when we walk in the room, the first thing we do, we check the temperature in the room, and we make sure that if anyone in the room is functioning on a wattage, if their light is shining at 100 watt, we quickly make sure that we dial down to 15 watts. We check the temperature, and if God has put that thing on the inside of you to shine, and we all have that light to shine. We are told in scripture to let your light shine. But when a lot of us as women walk into a room like this sister did, she dialed her wattage down. So instead of shining as the star, as the woman, as the gift that she is, she dialed her wattage down to 1510. She dimmed her light because she didn't believe that she mattered. And rightly so, we've all functioned on different wattages. Your light may be at 100, somebody else's is at 250. It doesn't matter. The only thing that's important is that when you walk into a room, if your maximum capacity in shining is 100 watt, please leave it at 100 watt. Shine wherever you go. Allow someone to see your heart and who you are. Give yourself a voice. And I know a lot of women can identify with her who for years, our voices just go. It's only about what other people have to say. People could do this or that to us, and we have nothing to say. We swallow. We don't stand up and identify, speak up for ourselves. And we see ourselves as just taking up space as she did. So function on maximum wattage wherever you are. Don't be afraid to shine brightly, because someone will benefit from your light. Whether it's 250 wattage or whether it's 150 or whether it's 100, whatever your maximum wattage is, shine brightly on that. Don't dim your light, because you do yourself a huge disservice, and not only yourself, but the people who are assigned to benefit from your light, they'll never find their way, because you choose to show up shining, dimming that light. And that's how we go through life, feeling that, let me not take up too much space, let me not say too much, or let me not shine brightly. There is something on the inside of you, on the inside of each and every one of us, that's worth seeing, that's worth knowing, that's worth hearing. Do not deny yourself of shining brightly, of your light, and do not deny others of seeing how beautiful your light is, because you were told to shine your light so others can see. I lived in that space for a long time, valuing the opinion of others over my feelings. I wanted to please and appease everybody, even at the expense of my happiness. She did not want to have an abortion at 17, but she had to follow through with her mom, because mom had one question: what would other people say? How many of us are still, as little girls and as adults, we're afraid of what somebody got to say? Live your truth. Because people will always have something to say. Always. And a lot of times it's not the best. So you cannot live your life being afraid of what people will say. They'll say what they got to say, and then they're on to the next person. Because they're just those people they live for that. They live to identify the worst in people, or the weaknesses in others, while not even looking at themselves. Do you realize that most of the people who take pleasure or joy in identifying other people's weaknesses, those people got a whole lot of issues themselves? You realize that? And here you are, afraid of people who themselves got issues. No, can't be afraid of what people are going to say, to the detriment of not doing what is right for you to do, because you're afraid that somebody's going to say something. So you'll find out that the more you grow and the more you mature and the more you understand why you're here, and one of them is not to be afraid of people, because the Bible says that we should not even fear man who can destroy your body. The Bible says, fear God who can destroy both body, soul, and cast it into hellfire. That's what we need to fear, and not only fear God, but to have that godly reverence for him, that we desire to do the things that honor him. She says, I now realize that came from something seeded in me long before the trip to the clinic. She was silenced. When someone plants a seed, they bury it deep in the soil. You don't see the transformation that is happening underneath, but soon a bud appears above the ground. The bud will grow, and you will soon see the harvest of one seed. I'm not sure what the seed was or who planted it, but the harvest it produced caused me to feel less than. Something planted within a child could take root and attach itself to her soul and convince her little mind that she was not important, and that what she had to say was not worthy of adult attention. You know how those parents who are constantly telling the child to be quiet? Be quiet. Just go one side, or go over there. You don't be in the midst of adult conversation. It's important to listen to your children, because we are planting seeds in our children. And some of us, even as big little girls, as I like to call us, how we are today, we're coming from that very same place of the seeds that were planted in us as little girls. What we say, what we do, how we show up in the world, we're still coming from that place. So it's important, as I said a few weeks ago, to go back and see what you've been marinated in and what's been left on you and in you, and you got to deal with it, because if you don't, you will always come from that place. And that's how you approach life in every aspect. So you want to make sure that you go back, deal with your stuff, do the work, so you can show up with your heart healed and ready to hold on to every promise that God has ordained for you. She went on to say, I allowed myself to, she said, circumstances such as recent separation in my marriage forced me into a period of solitude that was just me and God. And this is her image in the moment mirror. It forced me to be with just me and God. By then, always suppressing my feelings had taken a toll on my physical and mental health. I had allowed myself to be in a marriage that didn't value me, that degraded me, because I didn't know who I was. God needed to be alone with me so I could see who he is in me. I thought that was so powerful. It's a journey that sometimes we have to walk with God and God alone, so he can do the work in us and through us, so we can understand who we are in him, that no matter what we've been through, no matter what we're going through, that he has a way to bring us through to an expected end. Reading the Bible was one thing. Believing it was another. And I could just stop right there. But I thought that was such a powerful sentence. She says, reading the Bible was one thing, but believing it, that's a whole nother story, honey. And that is one of the problems that we as women and Christians on a whole, we're facing. We read the Bible just as an activity to say, yeah, pastor say read the Bible, and I read the Bible. Reading the Bible is one thing, but believing the word of God, that's a whole nother level. And that's where we're having the problem, believing. So we want to move past just reading it as an activity, as a checkoff list, to the point where we actually believe what God has said over our lives. I came to realize that everything God said about me was true. In his eyes, I was and am enough. He listened to me and hears my heart. God values my words and my thoughts. The only opinion that matters to me today is what he thinks of me. I now make choices that's in alignment with the word of God. And I live in the affirmations, of the word. How important is that? She reached to the point where she understood what God had to say about her. She believed it, she embraced it, and realized that God was always speaking to her, that he was always concerned about her, and he had a plan for her life. The definition of reflection is the return of light or sound wave to a surface. God has returned light to the place where it was once extinguished by the absence of my voice. Silence had caused me to abort my baby and endure relationships that would have kept me in pain. I was slowly dying while I was looking like I was alive. Reality is everything. Not what it looks like, but what it actually is. So strive to live in reality, not to present. We live in a world that encourages that. It encourages inauthenticity. To show up in a picture, look in a particular way, but the actuality of that thing is not so. And we can live an authentic life. We can show up being authentic individuals rather than pretending. Pretense only lasts for a few minutes, seconds, or hours if we're that good. Most people who are showing up and they're living inauthentically, those are the ones who are in depression. They cry themselves to sleep when no one's watching. So be real, be authentic. You can choose to show up authentically in your life and to live in your reality rather than pretending to be what it's not. She said, my experiences have allowed me to speak into other women. I can hear what she cannot say or will not say. I can hear her silence. My message to her is, you are not alone. There is someone who can hear your heart, has counted and saved your tears, and that person is your Father. He has traded beauty for ashes and has given you his peace. So I love what she said here, that you're not alone. Abortion is a very painful thing. It brings on emotional pain, psychological pains, even the loss of a child. But abortion takes it to a whole nother level, how women deal with this significant trauma in their lives. In 2010, between 2010 and 2014, a recent study was done. And these are abortions that were done. 56 million. 56 million abortions. And I'm not talking about spontaneous abortions, miscarriages. These were abortions that were at will. Induced abortions, that's what it's called. 56 million. That's a staggering number. And not only are the abortions happening, but think of the women who have endured. Think of the young girls who wanted to say, no, I want my baby, and felt like she didn't have a voice and she didn't have an option. And this is a pain that goes throughout the woman's life unless it's dealt with and healed. 56 million. Wow. I thought that was staggering. But she went through it, and God brought her to a place of healing. So I just say this evening, no matter what you're going through, if you're a woman who've had an abortion, it's not the end of your life. We remove the pain and the shame and all of that. We believe in life. We believe in saving lives. We believe that babies, they're a gift from God and should be treated as such. But if a woman was in that position when she was young and felt like this was my only way out, or she was coerced in doing such a thing, we should put our arms around her, not to make her feel afraid or ashamed of going through something like that. Because God is able to heal everything. 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 Sin, or if it's a sin is attached to it or not, he's able to heal everything. And that's what it's about. These situations, these traumas, they leave huge scars on the hearts of women around the world. And so we remove the stigma, We remove the shame around it. And we let women know around the world, wherever you are, that God is able to heal that part of you. If you've been through this trauma, God is able to heal it, and not only heal it, but he's able to use your story to help someone else. Because then you'll know that what you've been through can serve someone else who is going through, or to prevent someone else to experience the trauma that you've experienced. She says, God has given me a peace that really has given me peace that surpasses all understanding. I know everything I experience is wasted if I did not use it to help others. God has allowed me through his love to overcome the things in my life so I can help others. Being a true servant is to be his hands and is to be the hands and feet of Jesus. In her last paragraph, she says, I feel his promises in my smile and his joy in my laughter. And I know that he sees my heart and listens to my thoughts and has forgiven me so I can forgive myself. That is so powerful. God has long forgiven us of the things that we did that went against his pattern, that went against his words. He has long forgiven us because we've asked for forgiveness over and over, and he's done it. But we are keeping ourselves, holding ourselves as hostages. A lot of us do that. And we're good at, a lot of times, forgiving others. Oh, we're good at saying, oh, I forgive you. But we never go on to the very important task of forgiving ourselves. Looking ourselves in the mirror and say, Petra, Elaine, Rochelle, Monique, I forgive you. You did the best you could at that time with all the tools you had in your box. And now that I know better, I am doing better, I will do better. And I forgive you. Because I believe that most of us are doing the best we can at any given moment with the tools we have in the box. Just like a child, a 2-year-old, doing the best to survive with all the knowledge he or she has. A 2-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 50-year-old, and on and on. We're always trying to do the best we can with what we know, with the knowledge we have. That's why information, that's why becoming aware, that's why having illumination and coming out of ignorance to get to that place of healing and transformation. That's why it's so important that we continue to learn and grow. That if you didn't get it so right 10 years ago, by now you should have gained some more tools in the box, that if you happen upon that same situation, oh, you know what to do, honey. Because you've gotten some tools. And that's what this is all about. Us growing by gaining information, learning vicariously from others, so we don't have to do the same things. We don't have to do the same thing and get the same results. So she learned not how only to forgive others, but to accept the forgiveness of God and forgive others, and most importantly, to say, I forgive you, to forgive herself. I now have 2 daughters and 4 beautiful granddaughters. God blessed my womb to give birth twice, and through that blessing, I ended up with 6 beautiful girls. Silent cries are now songs of praise, jubilation, and open-hearted conversations. Never again will silence prevail. How incredible is that? I love the fact that in her story, she took responsibility for her actions. I love the fact that she also said that God has forgiven me, so I can therefore forgive myself. I can forgive others and forgive myself. Remember that your story doesn't belong to you. Whatever you're going through right now, you're actually writing the story. So just make it good for your children, for your grandkids, for your great-grandkids, if this life should last and if Jesus should tarry. Write that story good, because your story, somebody's going to need to hear it. If not today, it's going to be tomorrow. Can you imagine at 17 years old, if she had thought that she would actually be putting her story in a book, how that would have ended? it probably would have gone something like, and I told my mama, I don't think so. I told my mama, I don't care, I'm keeping my baby. Your story is not for you, and someday, some way, we get to tell our stories. So sis, make it good. Someday, a eulogy will be written about you and I. I'm just saying, write it good, make it good. That everything that you would like to see in your story, make it good, because the story will be told. And I love, as my sister says, never again will silence prevail. Silence will not prevail over your life. It will not prevail over mine, because our stories will be told. The fact that we are here, we were here, our stories is a part of the legacy we leave for our children and our grandchildren. It is a part of what we will leave. So remember to write the story and make it good. Thank you guys for sitting in conversation with me about this incredible story, this brave woman who took the time to share her pain, her frustration, her anger, her shame, her guilt, but lived to tell how the story ended. And it ended good, that she came to that place of restoration, of healing, of receiving the help from God, receiving hope for her future. And she was able to see her children. And not only that, but to tell the story of her life. So thank you so much for being in conversation with me. I love you. And until next time, keep on looking up for your something more. I am your sister in love, in purpose, and in possibility. I love you, and I'm praying for you. And thank you for doing the same for me. So keep on looking up and walk good. Bye-bye.